Chapter 16, I will tell you just a little. Poor Blossom, Uncle Henrik said, laughing after dinner that evening. It was bad enough that your mother was going to milk her after all these years of city life, but Anne Marie, to do that the very first time, I'm surprised Blossom didn't kick you. Mamma laughed too. She sat in a comfortable chair that Uncle Henrik had moved from the living room and placed in a corner of the kitchen. Her leg, in a clean white cast to the knee, was on a footstool. Anne-Marie didn't mind their laughing. It had been funny. When she had arrived back at the farmhouse, she had run along the road to avoid the soldiers who might still be in the woods. Now, carrying nothing, she was in no danger. Mamma and Kirsty were gone. There was a note, hastily written, from Mamma that the doctor was taking her in his car to the local hospital and that they would be back soon. But the noise from Blossom, forgotten, unmilked, uncomfortable in the barn, had sent Anne-Marie warily out with a milking bucket. She had done her very best, trying to ignore Blossom's irritated snorts and tossing head, remembering how Uncle Henrik's hands had worked with a firm, rhythmic pulling motion, and she did get milked. I could have done it, Kirsty announced. You only have to pull and squeeze hard. I could do it easily. Anne-Marie rolled her eyes. I'd like to see you try, she thought. Is Ellen coming back? Kirsty asked, forgetting the cow for a moment. She said she'd make a dress for my doll. Anne-Marie and I will help you make a dress, Mamma told her. Ellen had to go with her parents. Wasn't that a nice surprise that the Rosens came last night to get her? She should have waked me up and said goodbye, Kirsty grumbled, spooning some imaginary food into the painted mouth of her doll. Anne-Marie, Uncle Henrik said, getting up from the table and pushing his chair back. If you come with me now to the barn, I'll give you a milking lesson. Wash your hands. Me too, Kirsty said. No, not you, Mamma said. Not this time. I need your help here, since I can't walk very well. You'll have to be my nurse. Kirsty hesitated, deciding whether to argue or not, and then she said, Well, I'm going to be a nurse when I grow up, not a cow milker, so I have to stay here and take care of Mamma. Followed as usual by the kitten, Anne-Marie walked with Uncle Henrik to the barn through a fine misty rain that had begun to fall. It seemed to her that Blossom shook her head happily when she saw Henrik and knew that she would be in good hands again. She sat on the stack of hay, watched while he milked, and her mind was not on the milking. Uncle Henrik, she asked, where are the Rosens and the others? I thought you were taking them to Sweden on your boat, but they weren't there. They were there, he told her, leaning forward against the cow's side. You shouldn't know this. You remember what I told you about it being safer not to know? But I will tell you just a little, because you were so very brave. Brave? Anne-Marie asked, surprised. No, I wasn't. I was frightened. You risked your life, but I didn't even think about it. I was only thinking of... He interrupted her, smiling. That's all that brave means. Not thinking about the dangers, just thinking about what you must do. Of course, you were frightened. I was today, but you kept your mind on what you had to do. So did I. Now, let me tell you about the Rosens. Many of the fishermen have built hidden places in their boats. I have too, down underneath. I have only to lift a board in the right place, and there is room to hide a few people. Peter and others in the resistance who work with him bring them to me, and to the other fishermen as well. There are people who hide them and help them all along the way in our town. Anne-Marie was startled. Peter is in the resistance? Of course, I should have known. He brings Mama and Papa the secret newspaper, and he always seems to be on the move. I should have figured that out myself, she said. He is a very, very brave young man, Uncle Henrik said. They all are. Anne-Marie frowned, remembering the empty boat that morning. Were the Rosens and the others there then, underneath, when I brought the basket? Uncle Henrik nodded. Yes. But I didn't hear anything. Of course not. They had to be absolutely quiet for many hours. The baby was drugged so that it wouldn't wake and cry. Could they hear me when I talked to you? Yes. Your friend Ellen told me later that they heard you and they heard the soldiers who came to search the boat. What? Soldiers came? I thought that they went the other way after they stopped me. There are many soldiers in our town and along the coast. They are searching all the boats now. They know that the Jews are escaping, but they are not sure how, and they rarely ever find them. The hiding places are carefully concealed, and often we pile dead fish on the dock as well. They hate getting their shiny boots all dirtied. He turned his head towards her and grinned. Anne-Marie remembered the shiny boots confronting her on the dark path. Uncle Henrik, I'm sure you are right that I shouldn't know everything, but please, can you tell me about the handkerchief? I knew it was important, the packet, and that's why I ran through the woods to take it to you, but I thought maybe it was a map. How could a handkerchief be so important? And he set the filled-up pail aside and began to wash the cow's udder with a damp cloth. Very few people know this, Anne-Marie, he said with a serious look. But the soldiers are so angry about the escaping Jews and the fact that they can't find them that they have just started using trained dogs. They had dogs, the ones that stopped me on the path. Uncle Henrik nodded. The dogs are trained to sniff about and to find where people are hidden. It happened just yesterday on 2 boats. Those dogs, they go right through the dead fish to the human scent. We were all very, very worried. We thought it meant the end of the escape to Sweden by boat. But it was Peter who took the problem to scientists and doctors. Some very fine minds have worked day and night trying to find a solution. And they have created a special drug. I don't know what it is exactly, but it was in the handkerchief. It attracts the dogs, and when they sniff at it, it ruins their sense of smell. Imagine that. Anne-Marie remembered how the dogs had lunged at the handkerchief, smelled it, and then they just turned away. Now, thanks to Peter, we will each have such a handkerchief, each boat captain. And when the soldiers board our boats, we will simply pull the handkerchief out of our pockets. The Germans will probably think we all have bad colds or something, and the dogs will sniff, and they will not sniff and be able to sniff anything, and so the German soldiers won't find anything. Did they bring dogs to your boat this morning? Yes. Only 20 minutes after you left. I was about to pull away from the dock when the soldiers appeared and ordered me to halt. They came aboard, searched, found nothing. But then, of course, I had the handkerchief. If I had not, well, his voice trailed off, and he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. If she had not found the packet where Mr. Rosen had dropped it, if she had not run through the woods, if she had not ran into the soldiers and taken the basket, if she had not reached the boat in time, all of the ifs swirled through Anne-Marie's head. They are safe in Sweden now. Right? She asked her uncle. You're sure? Uncle Henrik stood, patted the cow's head. I saw them ashore. There were people waiting to take them to the shelter. They are quite safe there. But what if the Nazis invade Sweden? Will the Rosens have to run away again? That won't happen. For reasons of their own, the Nazis want Sweden to remain free. It is very complicated. Anne-Marie's thoughts turned to her friends, hiding under the deck of the boat. It must have been awful for them. So many hours. Was it dark in that hiding place? Dark and cold and very cramped, said Uncle Henrik. And Mrs. Rosen was seasick, even though we were not on the water for very long. It's a short distance, as you know, but they are courageous people, and none of them mattered when they stepped ashore. The air was fresh and cool in Sweden, and the wind was blowing, and the baby was just beginning to wake up when I said my goodbyes to them. I wonder if I will ever see Ellen again, Anne-Marie said sadly. You will, little one. You saved her life, after all. Someday you will find her again, and someday the war will end. All wars do. Now then, he added, stretching, that was quite a milking lesson, wasn't it? Uncle Henrik, Anne-Marie screeched, and then she began to laugh. Look! The god of thunder has fallen into the milking pail. All right, so we have reached our climax, and now we're doing falling action so that we will have some resolve. You can even begin to feel it even now in this last chapter that we're starting to get some answers and some resolve. Okay, until next time, bye.